Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Built to Be Human podcast, brought to you by the Functional Living Academy. I'm your guide and host, Liam Gallagher. So, it's been damn hot. As a matter of fact, yesterday, I don't think I did anything. I went to the chiropractor, got home, tried to do some things, and I just started to lay down. So, that's what I did yesterday. I needed it. Anyhow, I've been kind of going back and forth all week about what to cover in this week's episode. So since I couldn't really come up with anything that really excited me to cover, I've decided to give you guys a couple of functional tips, or what I call functional tips. So in my mind, what I'm going to do, or do my best to do, is go through a couple of the things that most of us tend to deal with and give some absolutely functional, or at least very inexpensive ways of dealing with it. So first of all, I'm gonna deal with mental health, stress, anxiety, PTSD, pretty much anything doing with stress, anxiety, and being uncomfortable in your own skin. I know I've talked about it before, but there's a technique out there called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique. And you can find a free copy of the EFT manual all over the internet. One of my favorite places to recommend people to go is archive.org. They're a great site. And they basically compile as much literature and free data as they possibly can. So, but the EFT manual by Gary Craig is a wonderful thing. It definitely breaks down exactly how to use EFT and tapping for mental health issues. It goes through setup phrases. It goes through the whole process. It goes through a long form and a short form and all these different things. But that's not even as much as this method is capable of. I've literally been able to pull people out of a tonic-clonic seizure by just tapping on the spots repeatedly. I didn't use any sort of setup phrase. I just tapped on the meridian endpoints repeatedly. Now, the reason why I like this technique is it works based on how we are designed as a human animal. It's definitely based on the spots that you're tapping on are actually a part of the meridian system of acupuncture. So as you're tapping on these endpoints, basically the premise is it allows your energy to run freely again through your body. I've used it extensively. I've used it with the setup phrases in order to get rid of PTSD triggers and get rid of specific mental issues and traumas. But I've also used it without the setup phrase when I'm pissed off in traffic and I'm tired of this knucklehead in front of me doing 25 miles an hour under the speed limit in the fast lane. So it's got a great diverse application. It seems to kind of reset the brain. I always kind of think of it as my brain kind of blows a fuse, and this is the new fuse being put in place, and everything kind of calms down again. There's a lot more science behind it. You can find all of that fairly easily with an internet search, so I'm not going to cover that here. But it's hugely valuable if you're somebody who's dealing with large amounts of stress and anxiety. It might be a challenge for you to be able to remember or bring yourself to the point of being able to tap when you're just getting familiar with the technique. So if you happen to have somebody that you're at least mostly close with and would be willing to help you out, teach them this technique. And when they see you start getting agitated, or even if you're able to tell them, I'm getting agitated, would you please tap on me? You getting the relief from somebody else tapping the spots for you, and you're going through the calming sensation. Because of the way our brains are designed, you're going to start wanting to be able to do this for yourself. Your animal brain is going to want you to be able to do this for yourself. And oh, by the way, since you had somebody do it for you and that cared enough to do it for you, that goes towards your feelings about self-worth also. So again, that's all from a functional standpoint. When we talk about immunity, there's all kinds of information all over the internet about how our gut is basically our second brain, and it has so much to do with our immune system. So, yes, things like echinacea work. And no, you don't have to take echinacea for only a short amount of time. There's all kinds of traditional uses of it and information that have been documented about people taking it more long term. But that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother podcast episode. So anyhow, for the gut, you can buy probiotics and prebiotics, and you can do all of that stuff if you want, if you have the money. If you are make sure you're getting this stuff refrigerated, especially prebiotics. If you're buying acidophilus from a Walmart shelf, there's probably not much live active acidophilus in that whatsoever. But aside from that, and I've been lazy, it's been hot, but I'm working on a video on how to make kombucha for yourself at home. But things like apple cider vinegar with the mother still in it. The mother is actually the living organism that turns the apple cider into vinegar. And you'll see that as a little clouded, there's a little cloudiness at the bottom of the apple cider vinegar that you'll see that's the mother. A lot of the labels will say specifically in quotations, the mother's still in it. Kombucha is a similar thing. It's different bacteria, but it's pretty much the same sort of philosophy where you're able, this bacteria that's changing the tea and sugar into kombucha, or the apple cider into apple cider vinegar. It's actually what is in our guts that help us to digest food. So one of the least expensive and one of the more effective ways of recolonize your gut bacteria and strengthening your gut biome is to take, especially in the beginning, you want to start slow, take a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar with the mother still in it and about an ounce or two of water. Take that first thing in the morning, 30 minutes before you eat anything, and do it on an empty stomach, because that's going to allow things to colonize the most effectively. So once you do it with a teaspoon for a couple of days, 3-5 days, you'll start noticing it's easier to deal with and you're tolerating it easier. Go up to 2 teaspoons. And again, do that for 3 to 5 days and let your body get accustomed to it. And take longer if it's hard on you. But the goal is to get to a tablespoon in 2 to 4 ounces of water first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, 30 minutes before you eat. If you do this for, 30-ish days, you're going to be amazed at how much of a difference it makes with your digestion. And oh, by the way, if you time out your meals where you take, a teaspoon of the apple cider vinegar 30 minutes before you eat, it's going to help you digest what you eat more effectively. Same thing with kombucha. It's same thing. You want to start slowly when you're just doing it. That way you're not running to the bathroom, and see how your body tolerates it. And slowly, incrementally increase your dose. Repairing the gut, allowing us to have strong gut bacteria and a strong microbiome really reduces the amount of illness that we're going to be subject to. So again, there's all kinds of different ways we can approach this, guys. But again, I'm doing it the simple, direct, straightforward, based on how we function, so that we know how to deal with it, so that we might have to do the apple cider vinegar for a month or a couple months out of the year, but it's not something that we're going to have to do long term, because we're actually going to be correcting the issue. So another thing along the lines of the stress and anxiety, just getting barefoot outside. I'm always on about this. I do it all the time. It definitely keeps me grounded. It definitely keeps me from feeling so stressed out, or at least more stressed out than I already do. But I'm trying to think of some other functional things that I can get into that are fairly short, because I'd like to keep this week's episode a bit shorter. So with lung and cardiovascular stuff, I'm a huge fan of essential oils. You can actually make your own vapor rub sort of compound. You can find recipes all over the internet. I'll look and see if YouTube's allowing me to post links at this point, because when I first started, they said I needed to have a better reputation before I could post links. But anyhow, you can find all kinds of things, but things like tea tree and eucalyptus and menthol, those sort of essential oils and mullein will actually clear the lung, the airways. It'll open the bronchial. They're called bronchodilators, so they open the airways and air passages really well. Again, if you are taking care of your gut and you're spending some time barefoot outside, you're building your immunity to an incredible level. You're keeping yourself from being overly stressed. When we've got poor digestion, we're more likely to get sick. When we're stressed out, we're more likely to get sick. So that's part of why I struggled to come up with more functional ways of dealing with things, because I'm so balanced in my approach to life at this point that I don't have a whole lot of these other things that I'm dealing with. A buddy of mine was talking to me. He said, "Oh, it sounds like you have allergies." I said, "It's not that I have allergies. It's I've been sitting in front of a fan. Anytime I'm sitting in front of a fan or even an air filter, just that constant blowing tends to stuff up my sinuses." So um, the reality is I'm going to go for my neti pot before I even go towards eucalyptus as an essential oil. Neti pots being those pots that you pour water in one nostril and comes out the other nostril. A little bit of saline solution in that to clean all the debris and the potentially the toxins out of your sinuses, and then you can even decide if you've got problems or not. Again, why would we purchase something that may or may not help when there's these other things that we can do for very limited amounts of money and can benefit us incredibly? The lymphatic system doesn't have its own pump. So dry skin brushing. So your lymphatic system cleans all your interstitial areas and the places between your cells and all of that. And there's no way for it to rid itself of the toxins unless you're getting exercise, unless you're moving around. Things like hot cold hydrotherapy, alternating hot and cold in the shower for 20, 30 seconds at a time allows that pump. It allows some pumping action for that system. That way you can clean it out. Dry skin brushing does the same thing. It moves the lymph around and it allows it to be pushed towards the lymph nodes and be processed out by the body. So dry skin brushing, again, there's YouTube examples all over the place at this point. If you can't find something reasonable, please let me know and I'll definitely post something. But there's all kinds of things that we can get into. Spending 10 minutes a day nude sunbathing, getting that vitamin D. If instead of using suntan, instead of using sunblock, try coconut oil. Coconut oil helps the body convert sunlight into vitamin D better. You're less likely to burn that way. If you are going to use sunblock, use a mineral-based sunblock, please, please, please. That's what our ancestors did. And some of the new compounds are literally killing the coral reefs. But anyhow, I'm kind of digressing. I struggle with this because functional is based on what we know about ourselves as a human animal. And I struggle because I've spent the majority of my life returning back to that state as best that I possibly could and truly being and expressing who I am. And I've noticed that the people around me are so disconnected from this. So when I talk about being willing to interact and wanting to share and provide information as well as provide my own experience as I was going through this, I need to know where you guys are at and what you're wanting to learn. There's so many different things. There's so many different parts of health, but there's really more or less a basic formula. And once we start working in alignment with the species that we are, and then further down the road, hopefully not too further down the road, as the people we are on top of it, that's when we truly find health. That's when we start to feel comfortable with our lives and who we are and what we're able to contribute. Hope some of this at least helps. I know I kind of ranted at the end, but so be it. I'm hot as hell. And check out the EFT manual. Definitely check out some apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. If you don't like the apple cider vinegar, I get it. It's not the best tasting on the planet. Try some kombucha. It'll do similar things. I kind of personally think that the apple cider vinegar kombucha, but I don't like black tea at all. So anyhow, you guys have a great day. Until next week, stay healthy, stay curious, stay true to yourself. Get out there and have fun.